Welcome to Many Millions, where we focus on the many reps and the million moments it takes to build a trading career.
All right, we're going to review these trades, see how they went today. I would say they didn't go well. So this first one you can see here, I had an A plus setup. I have my divergence, my bearish divergence that I like for the A plus setup. And it started to pull against me a lot more than I'm used to. I did get a little bit hesitant here. I'll get into some of my emotions as I was going through this. You can just see a little bit of hesitancy here. It actually pulled against me pretty good. And just barely taps me out, one of those terrible situations where as soon as it was done tapping me out, it went the right direction. And you can see that trade actually down here at the bottom where that bullish divergence was. So this is now my first B setup that I entered. Again, a short. And this one also started pulling against me. It had a quick jump down, but not in time to do anything about it. Comes up here and also taps me out on that one. So it's two losses in a row, one for the A setup, one for the B setup. This one I had another B setup immediately following. I have my bearish divergence. This A setup starts to be a little more hesitant. And what I'm looking at and paying attention to here is my volume. You'll watch it start to dry up. You don't see much movement as far as the candles go. There's not the volatility that I'm after anymore. Now, I'm complaining about the volatility on the one hand, but it just didn't have the volatility in this one either. So I kind of ended up taking a smaller profit here. I even scaled in a little bit, hoping to make back a little bit of that loss. Now that's a dangerous mindset. I'll call that out. That was mistake number one for me emotionally. I tried to catch this around the $200 mark, but because of the volatility, it was just tough. It moved too fast. So $200 is honestly a fine trade for me. I'll take that all day. You can see that that one actually did pull back against me, so I'm glad I closed it out for a little bit of a profit, but it was not a great trade. And then from there was another A setup, and this is where volume really starts to dry up, and I quickly realized I shouldn't be in this trade. It immediately followed a false A setup that didn't end up panning out. And volume, as you can see, is drying up. Volatility is drying up. It's just not a good trade. You need to be able to realize that when you're in the wrong side of the market, or you're just in the market and you shouldn't be, your best position in that case, especially emotionally, get out. So I take a small loss there before it turns against me. Now we're on to my second B setup, and this is honestly, I'm going to call this out. This is an overtrading day for me. I normally take one A setup, and I think because I'm kind of doing this challenge here on YouTube, I lost a little bit of my mindset. I'm gonna recalibrate that tomorrow. Great B setup there though, right? I think it was I want to say it was $180 profit on that one. Moved in my direction. I closed it at the right time. Just really worked out there. This is another B setup. Again, not a great trade. All right, now comes the moment of accountability, right? I told you full transparency throughout this whole process. So we had our B setup here that ends in the 31031, is negative $56 after those losses, but a decent trade, a decent win, I should say. And then we've got our 030 that we've lost $140. So going to go over here to TradeZella. There's not a lot of stats to see, right? We've only got one day on here. 6 trades, $197. Let's look at the details here, and I'll kind of walk you through my process, what I do here, and how I annotate everything. So we've got our first trade here. In fact, I'm going to do this. I'm going to let's turn off our B setup. That way we're only looking at our A setups, right? Yep, here's my A setup. If you remember, this is the first trade of the day. Actually pulled right against me, and then you can see how good of a trade it ended up being. I just had my stop loss a little too tight. So because of the stop loss being too tight, and given there are market conditions that came into play here with the government shutdown and everything, regardless, I can't give myself a good grade there. So I've got a 2.5 stars. I've listed out my initial take profit and trade risk. But here's my main focus. Right here is where I want to bring your attention. I don't worry too much about my notes. When I'm trading normally, I do have a long form note in here, but I worry most about my emotions. Pre-trade, how am I feeling? When it's an A setup, I'm feeling calm. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling patient. In fact, I don't think I have confident on my list here. Got a lack of confidence. I need to add that one. So those are kind of my pre-trade emotions as I go into it. Then I've got emotions during the trade. And since this one, as you recall, I'll scroll up here, immediately pulled against me the second I entered, my in trade emotion was anxious and scared, and that's how I know I'm on the wrong side of the market. Post trade, it's discipline disappointment. I followed my plan, and I call that out post trade because there's a big difference between losing a trade because you got emotional or losing a trade because you can't win them all. And that's simply what happened here. There was no emotion involved. It ran against me, and I'm not used to that at all. So even before this, I wanted to stop it out manually. So you get the point. This is really my focus here in TradeZilla. So I go through and I review every single one of them. I mark my playbook here, which these were short A setups. We can switch over to our B setups here, and I'll remove the A setups. Same thing. You guys get the idea. Short B setups here. I'm now calling out my emotions pre-trade. On a B setup, typically I'm a little more hesitant. I'm not confident going in. I can still be calm. And again, another loss, discipline, disappointment, because I cut this one even a little bit early, I believe. So you get the idea there. There is my trade journal for the day. I go through that. I'll log my emotions. Overall, on the trading day, if we include both of these, we are starting out on the wrong foot. We are 6 trades in, $197 in the red. And you will see tomorrow, I'm just going to, again, reiterate, I need to trade less here. My A setups, I'm going to take one trade, and if it's a loser, then it's a loser, and I live with that. My B setups, you typically are taking more trades in a B setup scenario, but I still think 3 was too much. So I'll leave it there and see you guys tomorrow.